Okay, we're going to call to order the August 19th, 2021 meeting of the Ellettsville Town Council. This is a special work session in order to deal with the budget, hear presentations concerning that, and answer any questions or have any questions answered by staff. So that said, Mike Farmer, where do you want to go with this? Or actually, Sandy, do you want to do roll call first?
I was going to suggest Sandy walk us through it. You're going to see that the budget is tight. In fact, there's zero growth in anyone's budget besides a 50-cent raise for the employees. And is there a couple of things? I don't think there is.
A couple minor things.
Yeah, a couple of minor things. So as Sandy walks through this with you, keep that in mind.
Okay, so I can do roll call. Scott Oldham,
Here.
William Ellis,
Here.
Trevor Sager,
Here.
Dan Swafford,
Here.
Pamela Samples.
Okay, we'll let Pam join us in progress here. Sandy, you want to go ahead and start walking us through whatever's important right here off the top, and then we'll fill in with questions.
Well, on the general fund, basically, it's like Mike said, all that we did was a 50-cent raise per hour for everyone. The council is a 3% raise since they don't really have an hourly rate. And there was a little bit of shuffling around within the budget, the supplies and services lines, but we just moved things around. We didn't increase the budget. So the general fund went up 109,000, I believe. And I think we should just, if you want to go over the general fund, then we can talk about each fund individually. If I run through all of them, it might get confusing.
Okay, I'm good with either way. Council, do you have a preference how we do this?
No.
I don't have it either. Whatever. I'd say go over the general fund. If we have questions, chime in.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so if you have your books there, your first tab is the town administrative fund, which would cover the expenses, maintenance it costs for streetlights and town hall, clerk's office, town council. And that budget increased by $2,667.68. There was a slight increase over the 2115 from the salaries, but there was some things that like the animal control actually went down, but the cats went up a little bit, and I adjusted what I could to keep it even, but it's over by about $500 over the raises.
So basically this number at the end, it's a total increase for this department of 0.75%, correct?
Yes. So the first column is last year's budget, which is $356,968. And this year for projected for 2022, $359,635.
Great job.
Any questions from council on this?
And then you can, I'll let the individual department heads talk about their budgets. Do you have any questions on mine?
The town manager line, why did we increase that?
We didn't.
We did not.
Oh, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. I need a ruler. So that wasn't the 105.26.
No, that was mine, clerk treasurer's.
Okay.
Those are
Okay,
fairly
and-
small increases because my salary and Amber's salary and the town council's salary is divided between the general fund, water and sewer.
Okay, and have a question on the town manager line too. I know we have Mike doing this, but, and he's not accepting the wages. Do we want to leave this or do we have to leave this in the budget?
Well, we've talked about that. And just in case anyone would ever change their mind, it would be nice to have a little bit of money there if we need it.
Plus, I could be removed from office and then you're gonna have to hire somebody and they'll need some pay. So I say we leave it in there. And if nothing else, if we don't use it, it'll go back into the general fund. We've done that every year that I've been the town manager. I could hit the lottery or get hit by the lottery truck. And so we just need to leave it in there.
I agree with him, Dan. It's not hurting us anything right now, and it kind of keeps things straight for the future.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't have any problem with leaving it in there. I was just curious as, it seems to be like a piggy bank, but
Well, at a certain point, and I think we're way past that certain point, but I can't get him to move on this. I think Mike needs to be better compensated. But that's probably a discussion for a different day.
yeah, and I agree with you on that. All right, I'm fine with it.
Any other questions for my budget?
Where'd we get the number for cats?
They gave me a proposal and I have it here. The city of Bloomington did not allow the full growth, 4.3. So cats gave us the same increase that Bloomington took. And of course, I can't put my finger on it right now.
So my
Here it
question.
It says that the city of Bloomington is just providing a 1% increase for cats in 2022. So in the interest of parity between all government entities supporting cats, I would like to, they gave me an original request for 4%. So they would like to reduce it to the aforementioned 1%. So the request is for $18,049 and it's only a $179 increase.
While I don't want to drag this conversation out right now, because we'll get to that agreement later, I have some questions about continuing with that at all, based on the fact how we're doing things now with Zoom and data recording and people being able to participate and or being able to call back up our meetings, since they're always going to be a virtual component to it from our own website. But again, that's a discussion for a different day.
Are these actually being put on our website?
No,
They could
I
be.
didn't think so. So where are these being stored at? Just through BCAT?
Cats has every meeting that they've ever taped available online through the library.
So they're getting all the Zoom meetings.
Yes,
Okay, and we're not doing anything else with them.
Well, we're not doing this with it right now, Dan.
Right, I understand. I just wanted to clarify that we're not storing them anywhere or putting them on our website, which I think that's a good idea to do, but
Again,
another day.
yeah, exactly. Any of the council members with questions about the administration portion of the clerk treasurer's budget? Sorry. Seeing none, I'm gonna move on, Sandy.
yes. The second one will be planning. And I think Kevin Talati is here virtually. So Kevin, do you have anything you'd like to say to the council about your budget?
No, not really. The only thing changed in our budget is the 50-cent raise that we were told to put in, and there's a little extra in perf compared to last year, which is just simply from the building inspector going from part-time to full-time. that's it.
Questions for Kevin or Sandy about this budget? Good, Wayne.
Gotta unmute first. Kevin, under professional services, the $3,000 bump, did you just move the legal services and just kind of reclass that as miscellaneous professional services?
Yeah, and the reason behind that is I would like to use that to have a engineer that either we contract with or something for our stormwater reviews and tech reviews and things like that.
Anyone else? William, you good? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Sandy next.
The fire department is the next one. And I put the fire department out of the general fund and the fire out of the public safety right there together. So
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
My general fund budget went up by 5.799%, or $89,000. Of that, the Richland Township trustee is funding $78,000 of that, or about between 7 to 0.8% would be the town's liability for my budget for the increases. So we kept everything at zero for the most part, moved a few things around to maintain that. And that's where I'm at with the general fund budget. Not much really happened there.
Just out of interest, how much do we expend or have we expended to date, if you know, gonna go look up on truck repairs for this year?
I do not have that yet
I have it as of June 30th.
as of June 30th.
If we reach the Jim Davis halfway point yet, or are we still below that?
Truck repairs. It is hard without a ruler. We're at 39.
But we amended it, didn't we not?
Yeah, we got it.
What is
So it's not
the
20,
Davis
it's not
halfway?
$2,000. It's only 20,000, right?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of a joke.
Okay.
Jim always paid attention month to month.
What do you think?
Basically was looking at when you get to
We
the
must have
6-month
had-
point, 8-month point,
Transfer in there.
have you expanded that percentage of your budget to see if you're on
Okay.
track or not?
Okay, so this was.
When I
your
looked at it when-
budget.
Because some of the fire equipment's getting older and we've only budgeted for $20,000 for repairs. But I know from some of the city's expenses, just looking at some of their pumpers, yeah, that kind of gets expensive with pump maintenance and everything else.
Okay. I have just it looks like about 42% is what I've spent this year. And we do have some things we're saving up for, because on truck repairs, I try to wait to at least after the June 30th distribution. This is something I just got to have. Most of the routine maintenance things that come out of that come after June 30th. We want to make sure we've got the funds for anything. It's a gamble, the first half of the year. So,
Okay. So real quick on that. I know, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, you're expecting a new truck to be ordered this year, correct?
it is ordered. It should be here in October, and the township is giving us the money to make the payments.
Okay, so then you're gonna push something into a second and third line, or what are you planning?
We haven't decided yet for sure. We have a 30-year-old apparatus that is still in great shape, and the truck that's a 1999 is in as good shape. So we're doing an evaluation, which is going to be better for us to have as a reserve. I don't think the fire department really needs to have 2 reserves, but maybe we haven't come to a decision yet if I can support that budget wise. So I can't give you a firm answer yet. The plan was to have 1 reserve apparatus and, rotate them out and sell 1 off. Yes.
Okay, well, how much would you need to keep?
That was the plan. So
How much would you need to keep both of them?
well, it seems like Murphy's Law. Well, one apparatus goes down, sometimes the other one goes down. and we don't have a fourth pumper truck. It's not often, it's only happened a couple of times, and I guess I get a little leery, so now if we did keep it, it would not be stocked. All right, so we would, still do that. We'd have to move equipment around if we needed to use it, is the thought behind it. I think it's imperative to have, I like redundancy. How's that? So, but the plan today is just to have 3 pumper trucks.
So I guess, again, where I was going with that, Mike, is again, because you are going to use a piece of 30-year-old apparatus for your primary backup, what do you think it costs us to keep both of those trucks? I mean, be it one of them not stocked, and it would take you a little bit to reactivate it, but I mean, do you think, I don't know, you tell me. I mean, how much is it going to go to waste if it just sits there?
I think if it sits there and does nothing, it would be a minimal amount of insurance for it. The problem is, as an apparatus doesn't get used, you'll find out it has more problems. So
Right.
It behooves us to have to get rid of the 30-year-old truck.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just trying to make sure that we had,
Yes.
as the town grows, I don't want to get rid of a piece of apparatus right now that we might need 2 or 3 years from now, 4 years from now,
Understood.
even as a backup. What do you think that pumper sells for?
Oh, today between $10,000 and $20,000.
Questions from the council on power budget?
Am I missing something here on deputy chief line? What's
Move to
going
PS
on?
lit.
Yes.
That's
We move things around. Instead of paying one firefighter out of the public safety lit, we, at the recommendation of the DLGF, to lower the balance on the PS lit funds, to take a higher paying person out of there. So right now, Tony Boland is out of it for the police department, and a similar pay or almost equal would be Kevin Patton, the deputy chief. So we're taking his salary next year out of the public safety funds instead of the general fund. We just moved it around, saved us about $7,000 in the general fund. He's just getting paid for it out of a different fund.
Okay,
You'll
Yeah.
see it when they go to the public safety.
okay. Just kind of floored me there. I thought something happened the past couple of weeks I've been gone.
Okay, well, last year, if you notice on personal services, line 104, the third one, it says firemen, and that's the 9 shift firefighters. Well, last year's budget, there was only 8 because we were taking 1 out of public safety lit. So we're just moving them around. We're gonna take Kevin's salary out of public safety lit and put the regular firefighter in the general fund, saving us, a few $1,000s there. So.
Okay, makes sense. I didn't think it was anything drastic, but you never know.
We're not getting rid of Kevin.
Yeah, all right. That's what I want to hear.
Other questions concerning the fire budget? Okay, Sandy, where are we going next?
Next is the public safety LIT fire.
And what I did there, basically, yeah, find it in my apologies.
Well, I really.
Is to satisfy the DLGF about the higher cash balance than necessary for the public safety lit. It was recommended that we use some of that money. So we put deputy chief in there, and then my 25% of the fire inspector program would come out of these funds also. It does have adequate funding to do that, and we'll be at a good level in the public safety lit funds.
That doesn't have a property tax rate. It's all paid for by local income tax, so.
Okay, questions on this portion of PS lit? Seeing none, Sandy, where are we going next?
Next is the police department with Jimmy.
Good evening, all. As town manager Mike Farmer asked us to do, we zeroed just about everything out on our, with the exception of the raises. We had some increase in decrease in social security, increase in workers' comp and perf. We moved some money around to to upgrade our vehicle repair line and gas line. As you know, the $3.25 a gallon is not going to fit into $42,000 a year. So we're able to bump that up a little bit. That might cover us next year if it doesn't go up that much further. But we've had a rough year, the first 8 months of 2021 vehicle maintenance. In fact, we're just all but gone with the money. So we was able to move some lines in the 100 line that we weren't using down to that. So, and then on the back page there, the fleet insurance, and we just got hit again last couple of days with another $1,000 bump. Sandy, we paid $5,000 out of my 200 line this year, which decreased the things that I really need to get or to purchase. And we upgraded that $7,000, which that might cover it for next year. Looks like with this budget and the CCD fund, we'll be able to purchase 2 vehicles next year as we did this year, if we can get them. And my understanding is the new cars are going to be new police cars are going to be coming out pretty slow. So, but I think we'll be okay. Gas worries me a little bit for next year, so I'm not sure how high the gas is going to go.
Okay. Questions on the police budget from council?
What was the question?
They haven't asked one.
Hey, Jimmy,
Yes.
I noticed a big decrease in the part-time deputies. Is that something we're just scaling back for the year? Or?
That's what we scaled back for to bump up my maintenance and my fuel line. Yes. We've only got 2 active part-time officers now. So we weren't using, we had what, 45,000. We weren't using half of that. So
Okay.
Sandy let me.
We had 55.
Oh, the 55, yes, yeah.
So he took that down to 20,000.
Excellent. Thank you.
Jimmy? I have a question on email. What costs do we have related to email? Do we use a service?
The email, last year or year before, we transitioned to a email by
Virtual server.
a virtual server through Microsoft. So we were with Smithfield Telephone, and we'd had a couple of issues with our emails, sending out numerous other emails randomly. And so it was decided to go to some more secure, and okay, I'm just stuttering. It is about $5 per user per month. So all of your council members' emails are like $5 a month. So that's what that fee is for.
Other council questions? Okay, do you want to move on to the PS lit portion for police?
Yes.
This was one we had last year. As Mike said, we moved our deputy, the higher paid individual, into that slot with minor increases in workman's comp, perf, and Social Security with $1,040 bump in pay. So pretty well the same.
Okay, questions from council? Sandy, is there a residual amount left in PS lit after we use it every year? And if so, do you know the balance?
Yes. Let's see. I don't know it right off the top of my head, but it was almost a year's worth of budgetary that we had.
So about 100,000.
A little over 100,000.
Okay. All right,
And does that money have to stay in the PS lit?
it does.
Yes.
But at some point we could look at it for other uses within either police or fire.
And
That
how
is
much did you
correct.
say we had left over last year?
Well, in total, she says over 100,000.
With the fund balance? Yes, I do have that.
But that's including the budget though, right?
Let me
Yeah.
give you the cash balance at the beginning of the year here. I do have that.
They're reserves, Dan, so it's not things we've expended.
At the beginning of the year, we had 155,785.11 for our beginning cash balance. And those two budgets, what's your budget total for lit?
For which one?
Public safety, what's your budget total?
Oh. Looks like mine's 96, 320, 31.
96, 320, 31. And what was yours? What's your total budget?
111, 597.
30,
207.
yeah.
So the budget is 207. And we had 155,000. At the beginning of the year, in June, we had 221,285.
All right, that's, sorry, but I'm a little bit confused on that. What's the reserve that's left after we expend what we already appropriated?
Cash balance in the year.
Yeah, I have it. The cash balance at the end of the year would be the balance after everything had been expended for 2021 or 2020. And that's $155,785.
Okay, yeah, that's where I got lost. I'm sorry.
And
And then
the
we have-
estimated revenue for next year is about 180,000 and the expenses are 207. So we're going to eat into the cash balance a little bit, like 28.7.
Right. Okay,
So what was the draw that you got in April, you said? 200 and what?
no, the 200 is what we're going to spend this year based on this budget.
Oh, I thought she said we started, or that's what confused me too. She said the ending balance was 155,000, and then I thought she said something about,
The June 30th balance, halfway
oh,
through the year. So we've gotten 6 months worth of income, 6 months worth of expense, and we gained balance. So at the beginning of the year, it was 155.7. In June, it was 221.8,
Okay.
285.
now I understand. Okay, thank you.
It is hard for me just to reel these numbers out and
Right.
you guys, it is difficult.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, move on to the next one, Cindy.
Okay, it would be MBH and Kip Hetty is available. There he is.
Well, I'm pretty much like everybody else. I'm using the 2021 budget for 2022, proposed zeroed out using the same thing I did or that Danny had for last year. Just moved some money around to other lines that I thought we might need it more in, and with the 50 cent raise for employees.
Okay. Questions from council? Okay, seeing none. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, there's a restricted fund in MVH that couples with his budget. And that is restricted by the state. 50% of all the MVH revenue has to be set aside for road repair. And we use this, we apply every year for the community crossing grant, and we've been lucky enough to get a grant every year. We match 25% of the grant with these monies. So in that budget, it went up $20,253 simply because the revenue for MVH distributions was up from the previous year. So it increased the 50%.
Okay,
Where is that, Sandy? What tab?
It is tab 5, I believe. And it's the third page behind the street department's budget. So it's MVH and then MVH restricted.
Okay, I found it.
And the only line on there is roads and alleyways. So that's all for road work.
So we have 125,000 for next year, right?
Yes.
Have you already pretty much figured out what roads we're gonna do next year or whatever?
Well, I'll be getting ready to work on for next year for 2022. Danny did, thankfully, before he left, he did get some streets compiled together for the July call. So I have it here in front of me somewhere, but we've got roughly probably 8 streets. I mean, pretty well the $105,000 that he's got earmarked, from this year's earmarked for the grant for this year, 2021. So, and then I'll start working on grant money for the $125,000 for our 25% match for next year.
How much road? This is for me, curious. How many miles of roads is that? So this is a 50% matching?
No, it's just, we only have to match 25%.
Oh,
And I just looked this up for William today. In the last 3 years, we've collected $901,000 in community crossing grants for our roadways.
seems like a lot of roads there.
How many total miles street do we have, Kip?
Oh, boy. We're pushing close to 70 lane miles. So we've got roughly 34 center line miles, I think, somewhere around there. This last annexations we had, we brought in a lot of the county roads as well, like Chafin Chapel, portions of Flatwood, Starnes. So we brought in some more roads.
Are the roads in good shape?
For the most part, yes. All of our roads are done by the Paiser rating, and Paiser ratings is rating the roads from a 1 or a 0 being the worst and 10 being the best. Our average, just right offhand, our average streets are anywhere from 6 to 7.
Okay, further questions for this budget? Seeing none, we'll move on. Sandy?
Parks is the next budget. And Jimmy, you want to talk about that one?
Just a little bit. Sandy will have to explain to you some of the funding on this, but Parks pretty well flatlined this year. I asked for a little bit more, and after Sandy got up off the floor and then explained to me we didn't have that kind of money, we've had to go back to what you see here now. So Mike's got a lot of plans, and I've got some plans for some things. I'm wanting to put a shelter house in there by the parking lot, the new parking lot along the 46. Whether we get that done or not, I don't know. But I'll let Sandy take it from here. Sandy, go ahead.
Well, just do the cash on hand and the fact that we've increased this budget over the last few years. We actually had to decrease it by $2,000. And our operating balance, if we spend all this, will only be $791. So either we will have to, in 2023, shift some money from the general fund or continue to reduce the parks budget.
And if all goes well this year, we'll probably ask to hit the general fund for funds for the park and rec. That's the plan.
All right, questions for the parks budget from the board? Seeing none. Sandy, move on.
Well, they get easier from this point. The next one is local roads and streets. It's a special distribution by the state. We increased it some this year just to use up some of the operating balance, but we raised the equipment line by 50,000. And Kip, if you want to tell them what you are hoping to achieve with that money.
Well, I apologize for this. I'm kind of unprepared. I'm sorry. This is my first time doing all this. I know that we do have a new leaf loader coming in this fall, hopefully. Our other one didn't come in till February, so we didn't get to use it last season. I'm looking at buying possibly a side mount mower. I've talked with the town manager about this. We've got a lot of county road out there that we got to maintain as far as the vegetation and stuff like that as well. Our bucket trucks are getting a little bit of age on them too as well. Some of the lines that got raised, like for instance, the salt line and the sand line, that's because we are getting more streets now. You know, as we annex in, we're bringing in either county roads or we're bringing in subdivisions. And so that's, you know, we're getting closer on our salt and sand every year. And it just depends on what kind of winter we have. We've been fortunate, you know, off and on for the last few years. Last year, like February, we were hit pretty hard there for a while. So we got really close on our money on our salt.
Okay, anything else? Other questions?
Next one is KIPS 2 CCI. We pretty much just left it the same. That's generated from cigarette tax. And so it's a standalone fund, fully funded by that one item. And we just stayed with the same budget, 25,300.
And if I may add, the roads and alleyways in this budget line here is the one we use for all of our pothole patching, so we can save our restricted money to go towards all of the community crossings grant, put more, you know, more bang for our buck. So this is the money we use for potholing. And right now, I've already started the process of widening the town's portion that we have right away of Sycamore Drive. So I'm using money out of this to do that work as well.
Questions on this fund? Okay, thank you, Kip.
Mhm.
You can be done for the year.
Thanks.
Good job, Kip, for your first one. I was trying to make it hard on you, but I couldn't
Well, I
think of
appreciate it.
anything to ask you. So.
Okay.
The next-
we'll move-
Yeah, the next one is the fire cum fund. So that's Mike Corman.
No changes. We just moved some things around and, for the equipment that we have to have and upgrades, it's the same as last year. We just moved it around into two different categories.
Are we buying anything in the admin vehicle category? Or we just stashed it there for future use?
Well, no, what we're doing this year, we hope to get some vehicles through the fleet management program through Enterprise, because we did sign an agreement for that. We just haven't received the trucks yet. Waiting for some chip that's got to go into these trucks from Pakistan. So we're still waiting for those trucks. And there will be a monthly payment. I'm sorry. Well, we're going to do it biannual, I guess.
Pakistan.
Yeah, the payments. So that will be coming out of what I have this year as well as next year. So that's where I think it's the squad truck payment. I believe it is. Hang on here. Right there. Excuse me, man. Yeah, the admin vehicles, the 15,000 will be covering the admin vehicles we're going to be purchasing through this lease agreement with Enterprise. And then the other parts would be the $50,000 that we would be buying and equipment, upgrades, repairs, a lot of repairs. Pretty typical. Last year, we had some money in the budget through Marty Stevens, the trustee, a tune of about an extra $15,000. Well, he converted some of that to do the fire truck payments this year. So we were able just to keep the same amount just by moving it around. So there's no increase at all in my budget. And the cash balance for the CB&E fund, cumulative fire fund, is good because it was reestablished last year or year before, Sandy? Year before?
I'm sorry, I do not remember.
I think it was last year the fund was reestablished, giving its maximum rate of $0.33 cents. So we're doing good with that fund, and in fact, quite nicely, to be honest with you.
Questions from council on this? Just out of interest, what trucks did you get from Enterprise?
Well, we got the 3 Dodge police package pickup trucks,
Okay.
similar to the one that Kevin Patton has now. The reason we went with the police package is they were cheaper by $5,000 a piece on the end result. So we went for the civilian models, thought that's all we needed, but it was a better deal to get the, in fact, we wouldn't have done it if it had not been for the better deal with the Hemis and the police package.
So what do those replace? The squad truck and then what?
Yeah, the 3 admin vehicles, and then we're going to take my admin vehicle and move it over to a squad truck because it's got low miles. So.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right, Sandy, we'll move on.
Okay, the next one, I don't think I included this law enforcement one in your packet because it is just generated by the fees we collect. So the law enforcement budget was reduced. And that's where the police training is paid for. It was 10,400 and we reduced it down to 7,000. And that was just due to less revenue coming in. The revenue generated from that is from parking tickets, vehicle inspections, accident reports, and it was gun permits, but the legislature changed that this year. So gun permits are now free, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
So that there's supposed to be some way to replace that income, but that's not been made real clear to us yet. So if that goes up, we'll definitely account for it in this budget. But this is not a budget that's published or requires DLGF approval. So the next one in your packet is CCD, and that is the Capital Development Cume Fund. And Jimmy talked a little bit about that with his vehicle purchases. But Jimmy, this is mostly yours.
Mostly mine, yeah. Line 234, if you notice, is from $12,000 to $15,000. My intent is I need a couple more covers for the police vehicles at the station, which would be about $4,000 to $6,000, maybe $7,000. I'm not sure. They can't, as the school is running into now with the new building up there, they can't get the steel in to do the construction. So that's a problem. Radar arms and equipment will hopefully equip 2 cars for us next year. No hope to it. It will equip 2 cars. And you get down into the upgrade for funds for buying new cars. It's just hard to find a car now for less than $35,000 that you can use on the street. So that's why we went to that level. Sandy thought we had the money to do that. I think that's Mike's got the fire software. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
My part of this is the fire department computer software. We had to go to a new program that's cost about $5,000 a year. So almost $5,500. So my part increased from $3,000 to $9,000, a $6,000 increase. And that was basically to help pay for a computer program, a reporting software that we have to do our fire reports on for the state of Indiana. So it was a requirement, and this was the cheapest way we could find. So
Does cheapest indicate it's not the best?
I would, after using it, I have to agree. Yeah, so we are using it now. We paid for some of it this year, so yes, but it does meet the minimum requirements.
How much does something that is the best run?
About $17,000 to $23,000.
That's a wide gap. Why?
Yes, it is. But that's the better programs that I believe other agencies are using in our county, and it's just not something we can afford right now. So I don't think we should afford it anyways. We can make do with this program. So.
Okay.
And the others are just computer lines for the other departments, and they all stayed the same except for the fire. The planning vehicle went down because we did use Enterprise for them. So we were going to purchase a vehicle this year. So we had a $25,000 budget in there, but we did the enterprise, so we just have the monthly payments, and that will only be $6,500 annually.
So how many planning vehicles do we have now? One or two?
Two.
Okay.
2 trucks.
Well, tell them technically one, then one's for the building inspector.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, technically they have one, a 4-door truck, and then the other one's used for the building inspector, so.
Okay. Questions?
And
from council?
They transferred their Ford Escape to the police department.
Okay. Questions from council? Okay, seeing none, move on, Sandy.
Okay, so the next one is our debt service. That's our bond for the police and fire. And pretty much that's all just statutory requirements. We just budget enough to pay the annual payments.
When do those bonds get retired? Do you know?
In 2024.
So only a few more years.
Yeah, and so then they'll be replaced with the bond for the town hall. Right
Right.
now, we're paying interest only through the utilities as rent.
Questions on that fund? All right, Sandy, next.
Next one is water. So that's Jeff Farmer, and he will explain that to you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Well, just like everybody else, we pretty much kept our budget the same. If you look through our water budget, we had a couple increases, mostly because of transportation and repairs and maintenance. And then we had some decreases. We expired a debt service reserve and one of the decrease items. And we actually had a smaller budget than we did the year before by $1,597.
Questions from council?
I do. It's actually, I guess, kind of related to the budget. How has the collections been for the people that have the COVID extensions? Are we doing pretty good on that?
Mike, you got any answers for that?
How have the collections been since the COVID's been?
I'm sorry.
The collection, how have the collections been?
The people are behind.
I think we've been catching up. There was some people behind last year, but I think they did some payment plans for them. I haven't talked to Becky. Yeah, I haven't talked to Becky about it in a while, but I do think that, you know, the way that it was laid out, we could offer them a payment plan. So
Yeah, we're in really good shape. I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
That's what I just wanted to make sure.
But we're in good shape. And with the CARES Act money, I think we could actually use some of that to help with assistance if we need to.
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't having a really large negative impact from that. So, and the plan was working. So,
Yeah, we're doing fine. Becky's done a real good job of keeping up with that.
Other questions? Sandy?
yes, next is your wastewater, and that's still Jeff.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. We had some increases in some items that we have no control over. One was purchase power. I had to raise it 10,000 to cover. We're a little bit behind in this year's expense on that. Contractual services, I raised it 5,000 due to the raise in contractual services that are expected. Transportation, again, mirrors what we did in water because we just split our transportation, which is our fuel and things of that nature, 50-50 between water and sewer. Insurance was up a little bit. We had to increase it by 3,000. And then our sludge removal went up, and we're taking on more septic callers. As you remember, we accepted two additional septic callers last year. So I had to raise the sludge removal by 10,000, but that will be offset by their dumping fees. So it actually had an increase of 31,000 in wastewater.
Okay, questions from council? All right, next.
The last comment I'll have is, at some point, we're going to have to do rate reviews for both water and sewer, probably in the next 12 to 24 months. We still have plenty of money in all of our accounts. We seem to be running at a positive balance still as of right now, but it's really close to what we budget.
I've mentioned before, and I don't know really what the council's thoughts on this, but talking about instead of doing these big rate increases and shocking people, having a percentage, each year cost of living increase. So that way you guys know, hey, we're getting X amount of percent per year. The people know it's not one big shock. What's everybody's thoughts on that?
Isn't that a little time prohibitive, Jeff, as far as every year?
Excuse me?
Is that time prohibitive where we'd have to go, and we don't go to IURC for those, do we? For water?
We do for wastewater. No, I'm sorry. Is it water or wastewater, Mike?
Water.
Water. We do for
We're
water.
not in the IURC with wastewater.
Okay.
But we're still in litigation from our last increase, which was several years ago. So trying to hold off for that to be resolved and then hopefully have a good discussion next time.
I agree with you, William. It's just so many legal things have popped up in the way to make it kind of untenable.
Well, the places that do that, do they go through back every year and ask for the same percentage of increase, or can they get approved for this fixed amount of increase and then have to go back if that increased amount changes?
Well, normally you do a rate increase every 3 to 5 years. I think you can do incremental rate increases if you put it in your request for like a 2% the first year, a 2% the second year. And so you can do it multiple different ways. We've not had a lot of rate increases in wastewater since we built the plant. And in water, most of our rate increases have been due to just the rate increase from the city of Bloomington for our purchased water. Mike, you feel free to add anything there.
No, that's fine. I mean, the old school way of rate increases is every 4 to 5 years, you do a rate study to see if you need a rate increase. And if the old school way of setting up your rates is the first year after a rate increase, you make money. The second year you make some money. In the third year, you start seeing a leveling off of making money. And then by the fourth year, you're into the red. And that's why every 4 or 5 years, you do a rate study to make sure you don't get far behind. Rates are needed to keep up with keeping our infrastructure upgraded and plentiful as far as being able to, in our case, respond to the growth of our town, extensions, and things like secondary water line and things like that. We want to be in a position where we can serve new entities and have plenty of capacity. So that all falls into the rates. We've still got 50-year-old pipe, maybe even 70-year-old pipe in town that still hadn't been replaced for. So it's just literally guerrilla warfare that you wage on your system to keep up with it. So, not to belabor the subject, but I mean, rates do need looked at. It would be irresponsible to not keep up with the need.
Andy, can we mute that? Hey, guys, do you have another device in that room going? You're getting feedback. Horrible.
We were trying to get that muted. It just took us a couple of tries.
Okay. I didn't hear a word you said there, Mike.
Well, it was pretty insightful, and I thought it was to the point, so I'll tell you that later. But actually, what I'm saying is that the rates need looked at. We don't automatically want to trigger a rate every so often, but you have to have rate studies to ensure that you keep up with the times and the needs of our infrastructure. If you raise the rates, people will yell at you. If you don't raise the rates and your infrastructure fails, they'll come burn your house down.
Well, let's not get to that point on either side of that issue.
I'm being a little overzealous there, but
I think the rate studies are a good idea because it usually opens our eyes to other things we've missed. So,
well, we've got a pretty good track record of being frugal with asking for rate increases in the past, but things like the secondary water line, it costs 1.5 million or so, and things like that cost money, but truly we needed that. If I show you how much water we're using today, all this summer, even in a wet summer, we have exceeded our capacity for the old line, and so having that secondary water line gives us redundancy and allows us to say we have capacity for growth. So it's a whole 2 or 3 hours going through that, so we won't do it right now, but there's a story there and there's a reason for rate studies.
Okay. Any other questions about this? Sandy, do we have anything remaining?
Well, the only one left is stormwater. And that one is a rate-driven fund too. So we increased the wages for the 50 cents an hour. And the biggest increase was in contractual engineering. That's because we owe a balance on the Christopher Burke's agreement. And I wanted to make sure I counted for that expense. So I went ahead and added that in as a budget item. And then the sand removal, Kip said he has to use more sand for more streets. Unfortunately, what he puts down, he has to take up and he has to haul it to a environmental waste area. So he increased that by $1,000 too. And that is about it.
Yeah, in the waste station place, they're raising their prices too as well. So
Is it the same issue if we switch to, and forgive me, I don't remember what the city and state switched to. It's something that's not sand or salt. It's some other melting compound that just goes away.
it's just like beet juice and brine, salt brine and beet juice is what it is. But it cost the town quite a bit of money to outfit all the trucks because you'd have to have the tanks, the sprayers, stuff like that. So
would it be offset eventually, or would it be forever and a day before we do?
Eventually, I'm not sure. I've never really not got into it very much. I've seen this process before. We'd have to have our own brine making machine, I guess you'd say, and it just takes a lot of equipment, and the upfront cost might pay in the long run. I'm not sure right now though.
Okay.
Hey, Kip, while I'm thinking about it, we've all been talking about putting together a list of capital improvements that all the departments need. That might be a good one for your list.
Yes.
So I've brought this question up before, but it's been a couple of years, so I want to revisit it real quick if we could. Mike, would it be to our benefit at this point to run our own service station and buy on either city county contract or the state contract, buy our fuel as opposed to what we're doing now?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know either.
Because I know the city at least is buying fuel at a considerable dollar figure less than what the pump price is because they bid it out far enough in advance and they use so much of it.
Well, we could look into it. I mean, it'd be probably pretty easy to get an answer.
Okay. Sandy, can we make sure that everybody else is muted other than the council and you guys, please?
Yes, we're working on that.
Thank you. Other questions from council?
I'd just like to say the budgets look really good this year. Kudos to everyone working on this. I was very pleased with it when I seen the budgets. You guys did an awesome job.
Well, it's pretty tight, and so we think it's going to work, and we promise that we'd be tight this year. If we do well this year, and if you look at the very back page, if our cash balances keep going up, then we'll come back next year for a lot, probably a little more aggressive, and you'll have plenty of questions, hopefully next year for us.
I could say right now, it's only a 4.8% increase, which is half of what it was last year, probably a little over half. So great job on that. And if our AV goes up the way it's projected, I think some people, hopefully tax time will be pleasantly surprised on our side of things. But just remember, for the taxes here, we're not the only game in town. So hopefully people that are watching this on Zoom or whatever are interested, are also just as interested in the other entities that are taxing us in Ellettsville.
Because we're not even the number one on the pay sheet there. Anyone else with comments for any parts of the budget as far as council? Supervisors? Sandy?
No, I have no additional comments. Well, I did put the cash balances on the very last page of your packet. And we have over the years talked about so many different terms about budgeting and funding. And so I asked my DLGF rep this year. I said, you know, I always want to present a balanced budget, but when we're doing the budgeting process, it doesn't appear to be a balanced budget, but we are gaining operating balance pretty consistently, especially since we created the public safety LIT.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that if you are gaining operating balance on June 30th, she said that's the only true information that the DLGF gets from us other than estimates. And they intentionally estimate our revenue very conservatively. So when we're doing the budgets, we're looking at less than we're going to actually get, but they want to guarantee that we have our tax rate high enough to capture our full levy. So it's the process they've created. But if you look at that last sheet and the actual June 30th balance over the years, there has been times that it's gone down. But since we adopted the public safety lit in 2017, it has went up substantially every year. So, you know, she said that it's a funded budget, and that's what they approve, is if it's a funded budget. A funded budget allows you to use your operating balance. So then we just have to be careful that we don't let that operating balance slip too low. So I think we're being very conservative this year, and that's what we wanted to do because of the generous increases with the wages from last year. We wanted to make sure that we were on track to maintaining those. And so I think this budget has done an excellent job in doing that. And hopefully, if there are, if we do get an increase in our operating balance and we need some big ticket items, one-time purchases, we're going to be in a better shape to do those if we have a good operating balance. Does that make sense?
Yes. So one final thing before we entertain a motion to adjourn, the ARPA money, when do you expect to make a presentation on that, Mike?
The ARP money. When do you plan to make a presentation on that?
Well, we just talked today. I had a meeting, and we all decided it was time to go see or have Baker Tilly come see us for a meeting. And we're kind of lining up how we think we'll use that money. And storm will be the first stormwater or flooding mitigation on Vine Street and perhaps Meadowlands. Those will be two high priority tickets that we'll spend it on. And then some quality of place items we may be looking at, and some matching funds for LIT grant or NLT grants. And so I said today it's time to form a plan. So I would expect to come back to you until at least fall, which would be after September.
All right. One more call for questions from the council or comments from supervisors. Okay, as this is a work session, there is not public comment, but that will be entertained at our next meeting if you so choose, which is Monday night. We do have a quick decision, or at least sense of council to go through on that. At this point, it's scheduled for a Zoom meeting. Is everyone agreeable to that? I know that William has some doubt. I can understand why. But I think, again, in the interest of health and safety, the Zoom meeting makes sense, at least to me. So what are your guys' thoughts? Or
Well, I know we can't vote on it because this is a work session, but I'm fine with the Zoom meeting. Or I'm fine with in person too. I see what we're doing and we need to take precautions with the new variant of the COVID. So I'm good with virtual.
anyone else have thoughts?
I think since we've gone virtual tonight, I think it doesn't make any sense for us to keep flip-flopping back and forth, in-person, virtual. We need to stay virtual for a second until we're ready to go back in person full time.
One other quick question. It's already decided we're doing virtual, right?
Well, that's what I had in
The
post
Zoom.
based upon the sense of the council from this meeting. But again, if there's a different sense of the council, we can go the other way. Might
Okay,
just
I
need to get
just-
something out.
Okay, I thought Sandy had already sent it out as a virtual.
She did,
I'm sorry.
but again, we still have time to change it if the council so desires.
Okay,
That's why I bring it up tonight. I just had to give him something this morning whenever we discussed, or yesterday when we discussed it, so she could get everything out in time. Okay. Seeing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Work session stands adjourned. Thank you all for your time and effort.